We're here, kind of. What? Why is that color all weird? Oh boy. We'll get it figured out. We'll get it figured out. Oh, nothing's working. Lights aren't working. Oh boy. What is even going on? I can't see. This is what I call like high quality, high production value. Let's just jump in. Since we're starting all wonky, let's just jump into it. I can find buttons. There we go. I think we're getting there. We're in a code. Today we're taking things to production. That's all there is to it. We're gonna take things to production. And my head did grow. I got a big head. Good morning. This is almost good. It's almost usable. There we go.
I didn't get a hug after bedtime.
Oh, hold on. All right. Here's what's happening. We got a late start. We got a late start because we got all sorts of like kids home for the holidays. So can you hear me now? Let's see. Can you hear me now? Let's see if we got things happening. We're gonna start with some. We're gonna put on the easy, cool music. Oof! What a day! And my face is big. I got a new camera. Good morning, Democ. Hello, Simon. Hello. We're getting there. This is real. Good morning, Chris. How are you? Some mornings take a little caffeine. You are so right. As I slide this C4 over, but hugs help. Hugs do definitely help. So, sound is good. We moved some things around yesterday. I fixed some clusters last night, so I think we're not maybe as bad as I was feeling a few minutes ago. But we're getting there. We're trending in the right direction. I'll just say that. So what do we have here? What are we looking at? What's happening here? The Dishon-dev tenant failed early due to stalled resources. That's not good. It says unknown deployment Dishon-dev Cloudflare D status failed. Oh, you know what that is? I know exactly what that is. What we did was last night, let's switch over here. Last night, we had a cluster, the Nooks cluster that had WebLogic running. It looked in a really bad state. Like it had a whole bunch of stuff that was like completed and just like hanging around. So the nice thing is we've got Flux CD running. But you also recall that the way that I'm pulling in I switched. So I'm doing a Cloudflare D ingress per tenant instead of per cluster to simplify my configuration. All the configuration is available. So let's just take a quick look because we know what the problem is. The problem is we didn't give the tunnel secrets. We didn't apply those tunnel secrets. So let's go here. Here's all the stuff. The way we have our cluster set up. This is the cluster that has x86. We use Flux to install it. We installed our tenants, but what we didn't do the part where we passed in the tenant secrets. So in our README, we've got some instructions here. It says, hey, Here's an example of how we set up those tunnels. So let's stop this. Let's go and set up those tunnels. So first thing I'm gonna do is make sure I'm on the right cluster. Nooks, that's good. And I'm gonna say customize, build env, and we're wanting to do the Deshawn-dev tunnel. And we're gonna substitute my secrets into a secret on that cluster because we rebuilt the cluster. Oh, whoops, what'd I do? Oh, I didn't type it right, that's what I did. All right, so now we got secrets. And now we should hopefully see this one resolve itself. So, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this too. It says container creating. I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna boop it. I'm gonna hit Control K on that container. So it's standing up another one. And hopefully this one has its secrets. Age 0, container creating. So there's 2 tenants on here. So on this machine, there are, yeah, everything's scaled to 0. The image, the office hours image service is not scaled to 0. And I'm not sure why. This one should be starting up. Okay, so I'm doing something wrong here. I've got my producer online. Good morning. Good morning. I sent you an email. I wish I had a better response, but let's keep moving forward and let's keep learning. Let's figure out what is happening here. Let me see what's happening. Let's do this. Let's go in here and let's do. No, that's not what I want to do. Let's do this.
Daddy.
Hi. Hi. Oh, good job. We go have mommy do your hair. Thanks. Logan, here's what happened. We reset that cluster last night, and our Cloudflare D didn't come up. So when I go here and I hit D to describe, I go down and I'm looking to see what's happening. I'm looking to see why is it not coming up. It says it's scheduled, successfully assigned, but it failed to mount the credentials. But I just did that. Oh, you know what? I know. Because I moved it from the cluster Cloudflare D to the tenant Cloudflare D, so it's looking in the wrong spot. Right, so we described it, we said, hey, what's going on? And we got a little clue. So let's go fix Cloudflare D. Oh, not that one. We want to fix the secret. We got to put the secret in the right namespace. So we were in Deshawn-dev tunnel, and the secret here says it put the secret in Cloudflare D. That's when we were doing per cluster. So we want to do this per dev, per instance, per tenant. So let's fix that. Secrets into tenant namespace. So there, we've applied those. Oh no, we didn't apply it. I applied the secret into the Cloudflare D namespace. I got to apply this secret now into the correct namespace. So we'll do that. What happened? Warning is missing the kubectl last applied configuration annotation. Uh-oh, what did I do? Oh, I know. Because when I'm doing this, I don't have to have that namespace. So we're good. Let me fix that again real quick. I don't need this part. Right? Because the namespace will be there because of the tenant. So I think we're good. So the tunnel has a secret. Wait. Nope, I gotta apply it to a namespace. Let's go look at this one. I gotta apply it to a namespace. So there we go. We're good. Get status. Get add. Okay, rock and roll. I'm gonna go boop this. I'm gonna hit the Control K to kill that cluster, and then it'll come up with a new one. And this time, it's gonna have its secret in the right namespace, and it's running. So Deshaun-dev was down overnight for 10 hours. It scaled to 0, so it took a little bit of time to stand up, but now we can see things have been stood up. What we needed was stood up, so that's good. We'll go check our image service. We're good there, wonderful. So that cluster looks a whole lot better than it did yesterday, a lot healthier. And because we're not using Gateway anymore, it's scaling to 0. Fantastic. So now let's keep on going. Here's the cool thing that we worked on yesterday. Yesterday, we were continuing working on this YouTube workflow that includes some AI and some image generation, but I'm building everything as native images. So all of the native images are, we needed to test them. And when we were deploying, we ran into some issues. And what I thought the issue was I pulled in this Roam library that I'd never used before. Let's go and look at its COM Roam tools. And the native image, when I deployed it to my cluster, the native image wasn't working the same. So then I asked myself, well, how do I validate that? How do I validate this native image against what I'm running in my tests? So let me do this real quick. I'm gonna bring our notes here. I'm gonna save this. Yesterday was Wednesday, right? So I'm saving yesterday's notes. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, look right there and say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Can you see a picture right there? Say, we don't have school today.
What?
We don't have school today, do we?
We don't have school today. Why aren't they talking back?
Well, because they can only hear us. They'll chat. So they'll write words and it'll come up there so we can see it. That's how we chat. All right. You want to hang out, or do you want to let me finish?
Hey, yeah.
You want to hang out? Okay. I'm gonna let you hang out. Do you want to grab your iPad?
iPad.
You can bring your iPad in here. You can bring it in. We just gotta be quiet, okay? Okay. I am lucky. So, like, I switched to this morning time because I was kind of just like streaming whenever I sat down on my computer, and I found that I was sitting down on my computer when the kids were home, and I was feeling like, I should really like find a time to stream when the kids aren't home. So yeah, that morning slot, that's why I put the kids on the bus and then I come in and stream. So that's why I like the morning thing. Just get the day started. I get to hang out with the kids a little bit first, But now the kids are home. So we got a couple of weeks in. We're doing good stuff. And it is like, it's fun. So because the kids are home, I might not like stay on so much, but we'll get started. Some of the kids are still sleeping. Some of the kids are gonna go and work out with my wife. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear. We'll play it by ear.
Do you have any Tylenol?
Not daytime.
I'm gonna need some.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Don't have some. Don't knock that down.
All right. So we're having fun. Here's what we did. Where's my notes? I like to just draw my notes. So I'll introduce like, hey, I'm Deshaun, Spring Developer Advocate. Love the job. And yeah, like I'm working on stuff. I don't have any like timeline. I don't have anything to push production. Right? So right, like there's no anything. Hey, yeah, like that's what we're trying to do. Let's get consistent. Even when I overslept and I didn't get started, I had my producer, my son, Java Grant Jr. I had him come down and like start the show. I didn't want to like miss out. But the kids are home from break. I'm trying to get a head start on my new year. Like, so the idea was like, hey, 2024, let's make this a thing. Let's talk about whatever you're working on. Like, what are you stuck on? Like, ask. I don't have anything, nothing to get. And I'll also say this, I will make mistakes. I'm not, I'll make mistakes. So keep me honest. What we were doing yesterday, we had this thing that, and we've been doing this for a while, right? But we work on it slow, no big deal. When we make a new video on YouTube, we figured out how to get it to subscribe or to subscribe to these events. So YouTube sends us a little webhook thing, and we've got our little listener, and we got that all working. But it was teamwork, right? I was getting feedback and help from you guys. Then I decided, hey, like once we got it, I wasn't really putting it anywhere. So then I said, let's just throw that into Redis. So we added Redis, and we were making this into a native image, and we were trying to parse that Atom feed, and that's where I brought in the Roam tools, and parsing that Atom feed, we ran into a problem. So at the point where I added Redis and I was parsing this Atom ATOM feed, we ran into issues. So I thought it was the native image because my tests were passing locally, and I thought once I went to production, I thought it was the native image that was causing the issue. So what I did was, in my tests, as you go, this is one of those early concerns with GraalVM. Early days of GraalVM, I wasn't taking it to production. I was working with customers, working with folks that were, and the thing that they were finding is they would make their application that worked fine on the JVM, but the native image they weren't the same. So early on, some of the things that you were building you were able to do this, but some of them weren't working as expected. The Spring team started working on this, I want to say it was 2019. It might have been earlier. But they started working on this years ago. With Spring Boot 3, they made it really easy for us to take advantage of this. But the whole ecosystem isn't ready to do this, right? We know that there's still some projects that are playing catch up. So I had in my head, I had this concept of, hey, my unit tests work when I do my git commit. I'm not going to commit something that's broken. But somewhere in my pipeline, somewhere in that path of production, I want integration tests. And what I'm doing is in my integration tests, I am over here, right? Let's back up one step. When we are pushing this to production, https://YouTube listener, let's go look at what's out there, version 0.0.9. Let's switch to our cluster. So this is Nooks, but we're running this as we're developing it. We're running it locally. kubectx, K3D, Juice. This is my machine that I'm running on. And we should see here in the JavaGrunt.com listener that it's up. It's up because I hit it and I asked for the actuator info. But it scales to 0 and that works just fine. But now let's take a look at this. It's down. My listener is down. It's not running because we didn't deploy Redis and we knew that. But we expected everything else to work still. So here we are. We moved our documentation to the root. Our documentation is created with Spring REST docs. Let's go to all projects. Spring REST docs. So the way that Spring REST docs works is when I run my tests, let's go look at my abstract tests. When I run my tests, I'm using Rest Assured. So let's take a look here. We can clean up some stuff. This is one of the things I needed for the REST documentation extension. And what we do is we stand up. Now look at, this is an abstract test now. And I've got an abstract method say, I've got to say get port. Which port are we trying to connect to so that we can tell Rest Assured like where to get our application. So we got to implement get port. We've got this get network, and I'll explain that in a minute. But here's what we're doing. We are still setting up test containers. So I set up a Redis test container. This is fantastic. This is working. And before each one, I'm setting up that request spec builder. I don't know if that needs to be before each, but we're doing it anyways. So we do things like, hey, we should echo the challenge that we get. I'm going through, I'm testing each endpoint, and I'm making a snippet of the documentation. Hello, Todd. Todd, I was so happy by your response and your comments about Spring Academy yesterday. It was fun to watch you. I was happy that you were motivated and you had a game plan for how you were going to approach it. So Todd is coming back. He's in this ecosystem that I'm in. He's a great presenter. I've seen him present multiple times, and he's on a new adventure. He's trying to like refresh some skills. He's done Java in the past, and I said, hey, why don't you try picking up Spring? Me and Dan are fans, and we both were kind of pushing like, hey, you should try it out. And we pointed him towards Spring.Academy, and he's been streaming with it. And yesterday I got to watch him work through some of the stuff, just a little bits and pieces in between meetings, but I caught the end of the show. And at the end of the show, he was just talking about how he liked it and how he liked how the modules were set up. And I watched it a couple times, so I remember it. He liked how the modules were set up, and he was talking about how he'd kind of go at his own pace. And then he planned. He said, hey, I'm gonna do this thing next. This is how I'm gonna approach it. I have these gaps, I'll do this part, and then I'll do this part. And I loved it. It made me smile. So when I was watching you and I was listening to you, I was kind of on another call. I was getting ready for another call, but I was like, this is great. I had the volume all the way up and I was listening and I enjoyed it. So thank you. Thank you. But you might find this interesting. So one of the other cool things about Spring Boot is I have this tool called Spring Rest Docs. Yeah. Testing. Just figuring out failed tests and errors, but it was fun. And you were doing TDD. You were putting your tests first. But the IDE was there. Like, it looked like it was easy for you to navigate. It didn't look like you were frustrated when I was in there, so that's good. So yeah. Spring Rest Docs is a way that I can test my application. And when I'm testing my application, I'm capturing this output. I'm capturing a snippet of what happened. So the client that's being used to go and hit my endpoint generates these outputs. So if I hit this button and I run it, it's gonna go run the test. We're gonna run the virtual machine test, so it'll go a little bit faster. It's doing its build. And there we go. And we have this green over here. If I go down here and I look at generated docs, I'm gonna find one. Oops, sorry, generated snippets. I'm gonna find one that a box that says hello. And in here, I've got examples of a curl request. If you're using curl, this is what the documentation would spit out. This is exactly what happened. We passed in a request, just like we do on the challenge request or challenge response. This is what the API at YouTube does. And what we are required to do is reply with the challenge string. So if you do these things, oh, I think I heard a beep. This is the funny thing, is I have work on in my headphones, and I got to make sure that I'm listening to my colleagues. But I just heard a beep, and I don't know where it's from. And I hear the beep, but I can't tell which tab it's from. Oh, there we go, I found it. Up here. I gotta find it. Sorry. So my colleagues, do you guys hear the beep? Well, that was unplanned, but yeah, now you know what I'm talking about. Here we go. All right, so colleagues are answered, I believe. Let me check. All right. Right now, I'll be pushing it to here. Let's go ahead and push this. So yesterday, we're here, we're doing things. Our listener, I showed you. The cool thing is this request, I used the HTTP request. Like, I have options of how I want my documentation to be set up. I use the HTTP request because I use that tool a little bit more. And I took this one, the HTTP request. Let me close this one. But I take that snippet and I plug it into my documentation. So my documentation is over here. I've got a template that says, hey, here's the things that you do on this endpoint, on this service that I deploy. And then it just drops in the snippets. So what I get is if I'm running my tests as a part of my path of production, if I'm using Spring Rest Docs, these outputs, these inputs and outputs, those are always going to be in sync with my code. You're never going to find this documentation not matching the code that's deployed because I'm using Spring Rest Docs. So that's cool. So we're doing that. But here's the thing. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Or maybe it was 2 days ago. We were running this in production. We took this native image to production. All the things were working, but our application wasn't healthy. Our things weren't working. And not only was it not healthy, but then the events weren't triggering. I was expecting that I would be able to get the event and see the event in the logs and error on the on Redis, but it didn't error that way. So I thought it was because of this tool, this new tool that I added. So then what do you do? What do you do if you feel like your JVM is acting different than your native image? This is the coolest part. This is way cooler than the YouTube integration. This is the coolest part. This is the thing that's probably going to be the most valuable to you going forward. I made these abstract tests that run with Rest Assured against my JVM. So it's nice and fast. So my inner loop development is nice and fast. So I have one for all of them. But remember, it's abstract. When I go to production, when I hit git commit and I go to production, I have this integration test. The integration test extends those abstract app tests. Now let's dig into this because I think this is cool. It might not be cool to you. I'm a big fan of test containers. What I'm doing here is I'm saying, hey, I need an image. I need an image to test with. So I'm doing a lazy future. In here, I need to figure out where I'm using the Maven Invoker project. Let's close this up and I'll show you the tool that I needed to add in order to do this. I needed to add the Maven Invoker. Here we go. I grabbed the latest version of Maven Invoker. And then I say, hey, I gotta figure out, because of my CI/CD process, I wanna make sure that I'm in the right directory when I'm executing this. So find the MVNW file that I know will be there because that's my convention. And then, this is the first problem that we ran into. Because I'm running the test and I'm doing this build image command, I need this here to prevent the loops. Let me make sure that I put it. This prevents the infinite loop. Okay, this prevents the infinite loop. Don't run the tests. Set that property. We're going to connect to a Docker host. Right, we're making sure that we know which host we're connecting to again, because in other situations I'm using Test Containers Cloud. I just want to make sure I've got the right Docker host set up. Find that pom.xml, that's what we're going to use. We're going to call this Spring Boot build image. If I didn't skip tests, it'd be running the tests. And when it's running the test, it would be running this test. We'd be in a loop. Now that I converted to an integration test, maybe I wouldn't be in a loop. Now that I switched to an integration test, maybe I wouldn't be in that loop. So maybe we can get back. But let's keep going. I'm gonna run nvmw and I'm gonna say -p native. So I'm gonna get a native, I'm gonna generate a native image. Now here's the trick. Part of my convention on my builds is I give it a specific project version, a specific name. So I gotta match, I gotta know the name that I expect. I gotta get that name back to pass it to my tests. So I've got to get the name of that image and I can't change the way that I'm building for my convention. So hey, run it. If it works, good. If it fails, bad. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the same tool that I used to generate those semantic versions. And we're gonna generate it, we're gonna split it, we're gonna grab that version out. And if I'm running this integration test on ARM64 like I am, then this will be the name of that file. Like bring in that semantic version. Everything else will be the same. If I'm not on ARM64, this will be the name. So that I get the same. Then I got to establish that port. And the only thing I'm doing here is I'm saying, hey, start up the container that you just built from that image future. So as a part of my test, I go and build a native image. I start up that native image. And then I run all of the exact same tests because I'm extending the exact same abstract tests. Yeah. Right. So how cool is that? The tests that I run to validate in my inner loop, in my application with REST docs, generate all the things, I am running the exact same tests with rest assured against the native image. But now check this out. Here's one other concern, right? When I'm using test containers, I get that Redis instance and it's automatically service connections. I get all of those values automatically. Well, when I build that native image, how do I attach that test container image to the native image that I just did? I got to pass in those environment variables. How do I do that? How cool is that we can actually even like, what's even happening? Remember I talked about the Git network. I make sure that I stand up a network. I'm standing up a Docker network, so this is what it looks like. When I run those integration tests, I'm standing up a Docker network. But I'm just defining it, right? You have a Docker network. I'm not doing anything fancy, but I'm just defining one that I can reuse. And when I set up the test containers, I just say, hey, use that network that you just created. Use that network and give this instance a name. So that, in Docker, you can attach in that same network, you can call other services by their name instead of by their generated IP, right? That Docker network's always going to have a new subnet, right, for all of your different networks. So if you're in the same network, you can call another Docker container by its name, and that's what we're doing. So I got help. I got help from Oleg Shayev, who works over at Atomic Jar, works for now at Docker with test containers. And the cool thing is he was a DevRel around GraalVM, so I'm a big fan of Oleg. But one of the cool things about being here, being in the position I'm in, is I don't have all the answers, but I got a lot of friends that I can reach out to on Slack. And I knew kind of what was going on under the covers, but he explained this and he pointed me to some code that I could go and take for a spin, and here we are. So thank you, Oleg, for getting me on the right path, shortcut, because I could have easily spent hours trying to figure this out myself, but it was this part that was the glue. So we set up this Docker network, then inside of that Docker network, we get our Redis. And then when I generate over here in my native image test, when I generate it, I generated that image up here. I built that native image. Then I started up. When I started up, just started up in the same network. And then when I call the Redis host, I can just call it by Redis because that's what I stood it up as. So my app comes in here and it knows exactly how to get to Redis. Just like my JVM does. So I get this testable network. I get all the things connected. So fantastic. That's where we are. So I bet you want to see it, right? I bet you want to see it run. So let's see what that looks like. We're going to close this when I find the button. There it is. And let's run this from the command line. And let's take a quick look. If I do /mvnw here, let's look. In my path to production, right? These are the Circle CI configs. I want you to see what I run. I only run this command. So that's what's happening when I run on Circle CI, when I run on GitHub. -p native spring boot build image. This is not going to, I don't skip tests, right? Because I had to get my documentation built. So it's got to be a part of that image, but let's just see what it does. Because I believe that this will not run the integration tests because I gave it this IT extension. I believe it will not run the integration tests. But let's see. So we ran the Java virtual machine test. Are we going to rerun We ran application tests. So we did those. There's JGetVer. That's how I get my versions. We're running it up. We're building a jar. We're building an image. We're building an image. And because it's a native image, it's going to take some time. Takes about a minute on this machine. But this is the coolest part. So sometimes it's weird. Like, and if you were telling the story of, yeah, I made this webhook listener, and then we tied it to our analysis assistant. Sometimes it's easy to forget the little things. To forget the little things that make what we do possible. And this, I think, is a really interesting thing that I think is really valuable. And if you haven't done it, you might want to adopt it. You guys get to hear the beeps, so you know that I got to check in on my colleagues. So let's all wish Rita a full and fast recovery. She's got a case of the flu. And yeah, so that changes my day a little bit. But here we are. Here we are. We're building. Wait, now did we build 2 images or just one? Okay, yeah, we just built 1 image. Things are moving. Right? Wrapping up. All right, so we saw that we only built 1 image. We're done. We did our thing. It did not run the native image test. Jonas, like, we're doing this. We got all the things figured out. I got help. And what I just showed is that when I run this command, I don't run the integration test. I have the integration test over here. And I don't want to run the integration test for my local loop. So now the question is, do I add this into my path? Do I add this into my path of reduction? Or do I just leave it as a separate test? Because now, if I just run the integration test, the way that I would do it is MVNW. Let's go look at my POM. The way I have it set up is on the verify goal. Integration test, verify. So I can do this, MVNW integration test. I think this will run the native image test. Let's see. It's going to go through it. We're just running a test. It's doing things. It's running the application test, which should be good. But we should see it run the native image IT. I do want to figure out what this is. This connection closed prematurely. We ran our application tests. Wait, results run 6. What 6 did it run? Oh, it ran them up here. Okay. So now we're down here. We're doing our fail-safe integration tests. This looks good, promising. We're doing the things. Image, we see that our test container is standing up. We're scanning for projects. We're building. Right now we're executing that POM file. Here we go. We're going to build this image. We're building the image. Again, it's building the native image. And then immediately we want to see it run those tests against the native image. So yeah, boring to watch, takes a little bit of time. Sorry about, the lame stream, but this is cool. Because I'm going to go ahead and take this to production. And I was going to work on using SOPs and showing how to seal the secrets so I could throw my things into this GitHub repo. But I might do that later. Because I might want to go hang out with the kids today. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna live dangerous, and I'm gonna hope that Pink Emma is not here to grab my secrets. I'm gonna live dangerous. I'm gonna push some things without having them in a secret store, because I want to show this, and I want to scoot over to some of this YouTube analysis and just connect the dots. I want to get into the AI a bit. So we're taking our time. We're building this image, but we're going to hit this with the exact same tests. Last work day before the holidays. Now I can spend a couple of days working on fun stuff. Yes, Jonas. Yes, so look at, we built our image, and then it goes and runs all of our tests against the native image. How cool is that? Test run 5. Results are good. Now, here's the other interesting thing. Remember, it's running those tests against the native image, so all the log, all the output from those tests, it's in the native image. You think about it, it does feel strange, doesn't it? But it does work, right? I want to pull up that meme. Your code is the worst, slowest piece of junk that I've ever seen running in production, but it runs, right? So this is what I've done, Chris. I just verified that the output from my tests as a JVM image equal the output from my tests of this native image. I don't have this concern, right? In the past, this was what I remember, right? When early on, when Quarkus, they got to do this early, right? What was happening is, you'll remember, Quarkus relies on the Spring ecosystem for a lot of things. And, right, it's like, oh yeah, the blah, blah, Quarkus native image. But the rest of the ecosystem hadn't caught up. Yes, you could do it. I can do it for Hello World all day long. But they were running into this where the JVM output didn't equal the GraalVM output. So yes, Todd, thanks so much. I know that we'll see each other, and yeah, keep up the good work. Jonas says, did you figure out the Redis host URL stuff? Yes, I did. So we're fixing this. I saw this problem. We are fixing it, and this is the solution. So Jonas, because Jonas was here yesterday and he saw the problem, what we did was, when we start up our tests, I create a known network name that I can reuse. So in my abstract test, as part of my test containers, I say, give me a known network. Let's use a new Docker network inside of those tests so that I can use that known network with my test container. So for the test containers that I launch, use the known network and give this Docker instance a name, an alias that I can reference. So use this known network and give my Redis instance, my Redis test container, a name. So that's step 1. The second step is, when I build my native image, when I launch that native image, I launch it onto that same network. I didn't need to give it a name, but I launch it on that same network, and when I call the Redis host, I already know the port. I'm using the default port, but I can just call that other Docker image by its name that we gave it. And I agree, that is awesome. Right where you were on when I wrapped it up, we took a pause. I knew I was going to go reach out to Oleg because I knew he would know exactly where I'm at, and he gave me a very cool repository to go look from. He's on the other side of the world, so it's a different time of day for him. And he pointed me to this, and it took 15 minutes maybe to connect the dots, and then we're off to the races. So here we are. Now, I'm gonna do one more thing because I think I can get away with this now. Because I just verified that when I run my Spring Boot build image, it doesn't run the integration tests. I think you'll remember this part, right? Our infinite loop. Where did I put it? Here. Remember we added this? Because it's gonna build and run and build and run and build and run. I think because I've separated my image integration tests out, I think I can get rid of this. Because when I do Spring Boot build image, I don't run the native image test. Should I try that? I feel like I should try that before I push this. That won't change anything. It'll just make it a little bit cleaner. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm kind of hesitant, but I think I'm gonna do it. I think this is gonna work. Jonas, thank you for that encouragement. Let's go and let's just run this. So it's gonna run the JVM test. It'll run the JVM test, and then it'll run the integration test. So we're running this test. Then the Maven invoker is going to, because of this, it's going to run the JVM tests, but not the integration test. I think this is going to work. I think this is going to work. So then my path of production is the same. I don't have to worry about anything else. And if I want to add an integration test run here on my path of production, all I would need to do is add integration test. I'm feeling pretty good here. I think that this is good and shareable. And now the sun is out, like right on cue. The sun shines through the clouds. I'm feeling pretty good. Happy holidays for all the holidays, whatever we're celebrating. Let's just celebrate mini milestones. Getting code to work. When I took that out yesterday, I thought maybe I had the skip test in there just for performance. And we sat here and we were chit-chatting, and I noticed like, oh, this is taking an awful long time. I know how long the image takes to build. This is taking a lot. And I turned around and we had like 30 images created. So it's images creating images creating images. But I think we have it figured out. It's worth it. It's worth it for one more little test, because this feels clean and I don't have to run this integration test. That integration test, I think I'm just going to make it like a default, and I'm giving myself that option to run it by putting it into my projects. So, right, if let's talk about this, right? If you're here, if I make that a convention, hey, make your tests as abstract tests, give me an image test that I can choose to run on this path to production. Maybe I want to validate the images. Maybe I'm doing changes with build packs. But if I make that a convention, I don't know if I'd make it a requirement, but I am making native image tests for ARM64 and x86. Oh, now check this out. Did you hear what I just said? I've got these native images. Wait, is that? Uh-oh. Oh, I was worried for a sec. But there we are. We're done. It worked. Yeah! Ended up using Hugo. Fantastic. Set it up yesterday. Good. Now I need to figure out how to post a blog. Okay. We can jump into that. I will show you. In fact. So I'm going to celebrate this little win. I'm going to clean up some code. Deleted code is always fun. But we verified that this is cool. But now, the one thing that just hit me is like, if I've ever got concerns, what's this? Oh, it's this one right here. I'm building an ARM64 image. So Chris, like, why is this weird? Let me tell you another thing on what we added value here. Because what my pipelines do, I build an ARM64 image and AMD 64 image. And then I build a manifest over top. So the other thing I'm doing here, I know how the JVM works and that bytecode, I trust that bytecode. I don't really reevaluate that bytecode when I go to different images, but I'm going to different platforms with native images. I can actually validate both images against the exact same test. So in my path to production, as I'm out here on Circle CI building these images, I can actually validate that image, the ARM64 image, against, because what was the one that I ran into that with? I can validate the ARM64 image against the exact same tests. And then over on GitHub, where I do the x86 version, I can validate the x86 version of that image before I do my manifest. So not only am I doing this, making sure that my JVM, but I'm also doing it for both platforms. So that to me that seems pretty cool. So let's take a look. I think we're set. Now the question is, when I'm doing this here, I feel like I should throw in an integration step. I will. I'm going to throw in an integration step. I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm ready to push this to production. I changed this version of the extension. I realize there's a new version of that. Everything else I think is kind of cosmetic. So let's push this to production. Let's take a look. We pulled things out into abstract tests. Let's do any kind of cleanup that we might have. Right? I don't need this. Hello. Let's just do a quick overview. Our abstract tests. Implement our abstract tests. We don't have any mess. Did we change anything here? Oh, I got to delete some code because Spring Boot makes it easy. I added this for observability. This, I haven't validated it, but this is the part that is hopefully going to allow me to get a trace from when I get the event feed from YouTube all the way through to where I write it into Redis. I want to have that whole trace, and I'll get I'm hoping to get the latency from the Redis call. So that's what I had done. I got that straight from Spring Data Redis. The controller, I added some logging. I don't really need that. That's as I was trying to like diagnose my issues. What did I do? Oh, no, I don't need that. Caitlin was the representative from the bank. I was in the middle of this when I was talking to the bank, and I wrote Caitlin's name there. Don't need that. We're getting Atom XML. We added the client resources. Our event repository is simple. Our YouTube event is simple. It's just a record. Yeah, we're good. Now, I'm doing this in one class because I was doing this on the stream and we were just kind of going up. I might separate these out into different class files for readability, and it's like I might like take that as a to-do. And I understand, but we've got time. We're not in a rush. We've got time. We can always come back. It's always fun to go back and upgrade things. So right now, I feel like we're in good shape. Git status. Let's add all the things. Do I want to add my ENVRC? Let me slide over because Pink Emma is around. She might not be speaking up, but she's around, and every time I flash up a code, she's there. So I definitely have some secrets in here. So I am not going to add that ENVRC. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create I'm going to add to my git ignore. I'm going to add my .envrc to my git ignore. I'm going to take my envrc off the screen and then I'll bring it back. Ooh. I don't know what I just did. Here we go. All right, because somebody's always watching. All right, git status, git add, all of those things. This is what we're adding. We've reviewed all the things. We know why we're doing it. So now, this is the other fun part. Git commit. We test abstract with add integration test. That's all. And Redis observability. Okay. Git push. Nothing's going to happen because remember I can be pushing and making changes, but that doesn't mean I want those things to go to production. I've put this control into, when I have my app dev hat on, when I'm in this project, I get to control when I want things, and I can validate and I can do all the things, but I can keep committing changes. I can share changes with Chris and Anand and Jonas. I can share those changes without having to take the change I made to production. I require a version tag. When we decide that, hey, we're ready to go to production, we do a git tag v 0.0.10. This is my convention. This is how things are working. I'm using JGitVer, which is really old, but it works. I've been using it for a long time. I use JGitVer. So now when I do this git tag v 0.0.10, now when I do a build, I'll have a version 10. It'll take that name. So I don't have to mess with the POM XML. I don't have to mess with making changes here. By convention, this is what I do. The tag, the version of the artifacts that I'm building with Spring Boot and the Maven plugin, those versions are based on the tag that exists in GitHub, so I can have my semantic versionings. When I'm doing releases, everything is consistent. So my tags will never be out of sync. So, but I just tagged it here. I need to push this, git push origin 0.0.10. So let's go and peek. Remember, we can all play along. This project, github.com/javagrunt-com. Our YouTube listener actions. We'll see, nothing's going on right now because I didn't give it a tag. These, I tag these actions that I have. I put those out there. I'm not a big fan of using the GitHub actions for the workflows. I use things like Concourse and Cartographer. We'll get into that later. But I do want you to realize that you can do these things easily. I can build native images for different architectures, and I can glue them together in a manifest. I give you all of those instructions so that you can do it too. This is how it works. This is what it looks like. I give you those, and I use the GitHub Actions as a way of showing you how you could pull this into your path to production. Because these native images, the fun thing is, and we're doing it here, like we're showing all the things. I'm deploying those native images onto my machine. And those native images will stand up when they're needed. But like when I'm doing development on this computer, on this, it's an M1, like it's not a laptop, it's beefy, but I do the same thing on my laptop. But on this machine, I'm running the stream. I'm streaming all the things. With multiple cameras are coming in. I'm running my IDE, multiple windows of my IDE. Right, we've got a bunch of projects. We're hopping around. I got all the 4 monitors. I got all the things happening, and I'm running Kubernetes with Knative serving so that I can have things running. I can have a suite of apps. I can have all of my microservices deployed onto my laptop, but they're scaled to 0 when they're not being used. But if I do a test, if I run something, right, and this is where I ask everybody, like, hey, let's go see the cool thing, right? I ask you to go to https intro.deshawn.io. You hit that URL, somebody's going to hit that URL, intro.deshawn.io, and we're going to watch it scale up. Boom. Right? And you're going to see in that result, you're going to see how many days I've been working in this job and how much I love it. But that's the answer. The response to that. And if you hit it again and again, we'll watch it scale up, and it'll scale up all the way to 100 instances. This is the way I've got it configured. So that I'm doing all of this on my laptop. I have a 15-second window set, so it's going to scale back down. Oh, somebody else has. Cool, fantastic. It's scaling up super fast. It's handling traffic. You're not waiting but a couple of milliseconds. We can go look and see exactly how long it takes for that thing to start up. I hit this button. Oh, maybe it's already terminating. I wanted to catch one. Anyways, it starts up in seconds. Yeah, do it. And the cool thing is, like, it's fine. It's getting requests. I set the window so it wanted, let's go take a look. I set the window so it scaled up a lot, way more than it needed. But that's a cool little demo to show, like, we can scale up and scale down. These are native images, so cool. But remember, I'm running this on my laptop. You're accessing my laptop. How cool is that? We'll get into these edge use cases and why Knative serving can still be used on the edge for interesting things. Because again, let's go back here. I talk about here, like, these are the things. Spring Boot. I do. On the edge. Raspberry Pis. That's where those things are connected. And other SBC, single board computers. But I talk about Kubernetes and build packs and just get into production. Like, these are some of the things, right? And DevX, right? Oh, and DevOps, right? DevOps, developer upgrades. This is what we do. So now we pushed things. Our pipelines are running. We've got this workflow here. It's going to build the image, the x86 image first, and then it's going to wait for an ARM64 image. But this is all in the public. You can see all of this. Hopefully you can't see all of my credentials, but it happens. So now this is the side. CircleCI has ARM64 runners. I used to run Oracle Cloud, and I had that project, I've shown that, where I had this just running on an ARM64 image over in Oracle's cloud on their free tier. So these are going to run it. We can look here and see it takes 8 minutes, the last couple of runs, 6 minutes, 8 minutes. So we have some time here before this is working. But now I'm at this spot where I need to connect to my Redis instance. I need to connect this to a Redis instance. And I'm gonna have to share some secrets, I think, for a little bit. Because I just want to get it connected and get it pushed out. But we'll go. We're gonna keep on going. We're here. Nope, we're here. And when this is done, we're building version 10. So here we can see that the x86 version of the image is done. But now, let's go back and look at that. In my workflow, I have this step here. Like, hey, you've done the x86 image, you've pushed it up to Docker Hub. Now let's build the manifest. Log into Docker Hub and see if you can pull down this image. See if you can pull down the ARM64 version of that exact same image. And if you can't, retry. wait a few minutes, retry, up to 6 times. So we're gonna loop at least 6 times. Timeout, it's gonna wait for 5 minutes. So wait for 5 minutes, retry after 60 seconds, and try up to 6 times. Plenty of time to build that native image, and we know that because we have this output. So as soon as this one's done, it's gonna push it up to Docker Hub, and then we'll be able to pull it down. But this one on the GitHub side, it's just gonna wait. It's gonna retry. So we're in a good spot. But just this, right? Even though it's not doing a whole lot, it's a little bit more than a hello world. We're doing the Spring REST docs. We're using test containers. We're building native images, right? This tiny little thing gets really, really interesting, and it wasn't really that complex. We got a lot of things that we get to reuse for our other projects too. So I've come up with a couple of conventions, patterns that I might use going forward, especially this. But yeah, it makes it a little bit cooler than what I was thinking about when I started. Keep an eye on this. This should be finishing up any minute. But Jonas is starting a blog. I've been encouraging everybody. Christopher, thanks for helping out. But I've been encouraging everybody, like let's learn in the open. And if you are interested in streaming, like you don't have to do anything. I'm a big fan of let's just do stuff. We need more Java streamers at all levels, right? If you're learning, if you're getting back into Java like Todd, doesn't matter. Come on in. And if you would like to, reach out to me. I'll make sure to show up when I can and watch. Because just like what I'm doing here, during the pandemic, I kind of and even before, for a long time, way back into the days of Mixer, I enjoy watching people code, especially when I'm coding. I enjoy having other people on the background doing things and just being able to listen. So I'm going to encourage you to stream. It's fun. And if you're interested, let me know and I'll join as well. Hey Chris, thanks for joining. Learn something new, right? That's it. And I'm pushing it out. It'll all be public. It's public now. So yeah, thanks for coming in. And I saw your notes. Let's sync up on that as well. But yeah, we're doing stuff. Let's get more people coding in public. Make it easy to code in public. So I'm just building some tools that might help you. I'm trying to stream more because I'm in the whatever hour and a half that we've been doing this. Not all of it was great, right? We're waiting for stuff. I didn't have a lot of stuff prepared. But I'll always say that we can have a conversation. I got a little sniffle. I'm comfortable being interrupted. I'm going to ask you to interrupt. So yeah, let's go. I like having stuff on in the background. So yeah, that's what I'm asking. Please, more people stream. More Java, right? So I can bounce around and learn new things too. Yeah, and I'll give a shout out. This is Josh. He's my teammate. I think this is just Dan Vega. Dan's another one of my teammates. They're just streaming about Spring. Dan doesn't so much stream. He does. We do the Spring Office Hours together, which is also a podcast you can go get. But sometimes Josh knows all the beans and all the things all the way down and everything across Spring. So I always learn. I'm still learning. And I'm also So you're gonna see that I'm logged in and this is my account. I'm still learning. I'm trying to go down the Spring Certified Professional path. I definitely don't have all the answers. Brahma's back. We're making progress. We're building images. We just picked up where we left off yesterday. Like I did a couple of things offline, but I picked up where I left off yesterday. My kids are home today, so I don't know if I'm gonna stream for much longer. Huh? Yeah, grab one of those.
I don't like those.
How about these?
I tried those out.
You want these?
But they gave me one. I don't like them.
You didn't like?
But I'm going to see if
Hey, you got some boogies in your hair. You go clean that up real quick? I've got kids. I got a lot of them. Huh? Oh, will you go clean it up? So my kids are home, right? They're home for school. So yeah, I'm not gonna stick around much longer. But the issue yesterday, and we did it and we tested it. We just pushed that to production. The issue, we were doing this like, hey, we thought our JVM output was different than our GraalVM. It turns out it wasn't, but we validated it. We figured out the problem that we needed to do was create a Docker network when we're in our test containers, and then we can give that test container an alias that we can reference. So we have a direct connection. We know where it is, no matter what IP address it gets. We're gonna we use that alias as the connection, and we can validate it. We separated this part out where we validate the native image. We separated that part out into an integration test. That integration test does not get run when we build our image. So because we follow the conventions of the test ending in IT, it doesn't get called when we run the rest of our tests. And if I want to run that test as something in the path to production, I would just run MVNW integration test, and I could verify that my native image output is the same as my inner loop unit tests. So that's where we're at. We ran both of our things. We've got an ARM64 image, and now we've got a manifest. So now if we go to Docker Hub, we're going to see that we have a repository, YouTube. Look at it. You got it. So you guys are making me happy here that you're pulling down these images. That's good. Somebody's pulling down images, not just me. And here we go. We've got our layers. We've got our x86 layer. We've got our ARM64 layer. And then we've got our manifest. So no matter which architecture you're on, all you're going to ask for is v0.0.10. You could say that you want this one, but you don't have to. Just ask for v0.0.10, and that includes both of those layers, the exact same digests. So if you're on x86, you'll get the x86 layer. If you're on ARM64, you'll get the ARM64 layer, which is just like calling for the ARM64, but it's into a manifest. And that's how it works. And then I just tag that manifest with latest. But if I tagged it with latest, if I use latest, then I never really know what version's in production unless I go ask production. So here, if I had made this latest, I wouldn't know when I pushed out the 0.0.10. I wouldn't know when it actually went to production or when I want it to go to production. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have that audit trail from the platform side, right? So from the source code side, yeah, you made it, but did it run? Did it go? When did it go? When did it finish? But from the platform side, yeah, I don't see that audit. We don't have a way of like, how do I know 10 was supposed to be out there instead of 9? So this is just one way of being explicit. First of all, I'm explicitly saying now I want version 10 to go to production. And I explicitly know that version 10 is what's in production here. So let's go and do that verification. Over here, we've got our actuator info that shows where version 9 is in production. Version 9 we created on Wednesday. And now I'm saying, hey, let's add this. Let's go to version 10. So now I'm saying, yep, push it. All I did was a git commit, right? That's what, as a tenant hat, I did a git commit. Platform had a couple of deployments. Oh, I was just looking at that 30 seconds ago. We're going to expect a new deployment here. We expect there to be a new deployment here in a couple of seconds. There it is. We've got a new deployment. That container's coming up. Now, we haven't deployed Redis. We haven't deployed the Redis configs. And that's really what I want to do. We've got, a little bit of time here. I want to deploy the Redis config. So I'm going to do that. And I'm thinking of a way to do it. So I can still use all my FluxCD, and I'm not going to do all the KSOPs or the SOP stuff. So I think that'll take a little bit longer to get through because I don't know it all yet. But ideally, I want to have these secrets in GitHub, but in a way that only the cluster can see it. So I know that you all heard in my ear, I got a beep, so I got to go check on my teammates. So I got to put this out here. I'm going to share this URL. Remember, you can always play along. Here. Where's the GitHub repo? Oh, it's here. I need to share this with you. You can play along. And I'm going to share it with some friends. Need help? Here you go. What?
Can I try one? If I don't like ice, what only do I?
Give them to Lizzie. She likes them. Or just bring them back. I don't like them. Okay. Strawberries. All this is dried up strawberries. Wait, spit it out, and I'll eat them. Thank you. So is Mom gone to the gym?
Yeah. I want to.
What?
I want to tap my pad.
Okay.
Not now, cause my pad's only at 3 again, and then 1/2 day.
That's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna finish up the stream. You go close the door.
Can I have something else too?
Yes. Yes. I love you. So you can follow along. I wanted to capture that URL because I wanted to share it with my friend. Yeah.
I'm trying to get to buy this shows I like by Kate.
Wait, what?
Can you show me? Can you show me?
Yeah.
What?
Wait, what? What am I doing?
You said you can come. I'm gonna show you something.
Oh, let me finish up the stream.
No,
I'm gonna wrap up. You wanna hang out in here until then?
how much more minutes?
Maybe 10 more minutes?
10 more minutes? Okay, yeah. That's also the same as 5 minutes.
It's a little bit more than 5 minutes.
I know. That's 5, 10. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. Good job.
That could be too short.
Okay. Do you want to hang out? Or can you go close the door? Because I can feel how cold it is out there. And my tootsies are cold.
What?
My feet. It's nice and warm in here because I got all the computers running.
Okay.
All right. I love you. We are here. Dad problems. That's like those are the best kind of interruptions, right? Like, so we're doing this. We have our listener. We've done some cool things. Dan, I'm glad that you're here. Maybe your ears are burning because I just gave you a little shout out. That's the right URL, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm glad you're here. And yeah, we're pushing this to production. we were looking here. We saw our new release. Yeah, intro.deshaun.io works. It scales up, it scales down, and so does our listener. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go look at V10. We have exposed the actuator info. I'm going to hit refresh, and I'm expecting this to change to 10. And we've got our latest version out. This is great. But when I go to the actuator health, it's down. It's down because it doesn't have a Redis instance. So I'm going to do this, and that's where I was distracted. I was going to say like, hey, I know how to do this. I've done it before, but I'm going to cut today a little bit short, or today's going to be on time, because I want to hang out with the kids. So I'm not going to do this. It's going to take a little bit longer. I'll come back and do that later. For right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Flux Control project, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy these secrets the same way I deploy my my Cloudflare secrets. So over here for the Java Grunt comm tunnel, I've got a secret. Can I do it this way? I might even have a better way. Let me do this. I might have a better way to do this. If I do describe here, and I go down, watch this. Where's my open Zipkin? Here's what I want. Where is that at? Here we go. In my environment variable, I've got these things set up. All I have to do is hit edit, I believe. I think I can edit this and just plug in my Redis host, and I think I'll be in good shape. So I'm going to try that. I'm wondering if Flux will clear that out, or if it will put, let's see. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to edit. I'm going to go over here because, again, Pink Emma's always here, always trying to get my secrets. Swiper, no swiping. So I'm going to hit edit on this screen, and that just pulls up my Kube editor. I'm going to go down to my environment variables. I am going to add an environment variable called Redis underscore host. I'm going to give that a value, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing to match. We're not in the analysis assistant yet. What we are working on now is the listener. So in the listener, the way that I have the listener set up is it's going to look for Redis host. If it doesn't find Redis host, it's looking for localhost. That's the default. So I'm just going to change these two values. Actually, I'm going to change 3 values. Nope, I'm going to change all 4 values. But I'm going to do it as an environment variable. And then I'm going to try to restart my image, and we'll see if I get that. We'll try it. It couldn't hurt. So let me get those values. Redis host. Again, I gotta be careful because Pink Emma and the tokens. So I'm gonna slide this over here. I've got values somewhere that I can copy from. So yeah, I'm doing things off screen because I do this enough. I've made enough mistakes. So while I'm doing this, what I would love for you to do is tell me what you're working on. Like, what are you working on? Remember the beep that I now know that you can hear. The beep is when I have a colleague pinging me somewhere, but I never know which screen it's on. So let me find out where the beeps are coming from. And let me see if I just gotta make sure everybody's cool and there's no issues. Oh, here it is. Right on, right on, right on. Oh, yeah. Right on.
Daddy,
Yeah.
the bee and little house
Yes.
out here.
Yes. Bring them in. Yeah.
Because I always gave us chips.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So it's crazy out there. I'm gonna have to wrap up here soon. But yeah, we could do this. I wanted to hear from you. Yeah, G-Chat, Slack, yeah, all the things. There's a lot of beeps going on, and I just realized Todd Libby was here earlier, and he was like, I can hear the beeps. So when I get it, I don't know which tab it's from. So you gotta like scan, like, hey, where did it come from? But we'll figure it out. We're getting there. So while I'm trying to push some secrets over here, what I want you, if you would like, I'd love to hear like what you're working on, or what you'd like to see me working on later. Looking for ideas, because I don't really have an agenda. There's no like big game plan. We're just gonna kind of go from one step to the next, and we'll see where it takes us. So if you don't have to share, like, but if you're interested in sharing, like, that'd be cool. I care. I want to like hear what's cool. We grab one last secret. From my secret store somewhere. So I actually had the secret integration almost to where I need. I just didn't do it all. I'm just realizing that. So now, are we done? Let's see if I'm gonna go peek at my environment variables. And that didn't work at all. That absolutely did not work at all. I made those changes and immediately they're gone. Okay. Well, I need to figure out. I'm gonna have to do the soft secret. We'll get it. We'll get it figured out. I want to connect those dots, but once that's connected, we're gonna use that Redis, that same Redis instance. Instead of calling, I'm just gonna use the Redis stream to handle the messaging. So that's gonna be my event broker, if you will. Yeah, so Todd did go through Spring Academy yesterday, and if you didn't catch the end where he was just kind of talking about his experience, he was making me smile. Like, he just, you know, he was. Yeah, I made a clip. I put a clip out there from the stream yesterday, and it was really cool. But yeah, I am too. Jonas is gonna work on his blog, right? I encourage you. If you got a blog, and like, let me know. Like, once you push it out there, let me know where it is. Yeah, he was working on it yesterday. In between some meetings I had, I was able to drop in and see him working. So yeah, he's doing it. Like, that's fantastic. And he's got a plan to keep on doing it. So there we go. So I'm gonna wrap up because the house is busy and it's crazy and all the kids are here and the beeps are happening and we're in good shape. So we did something cool. The coolest thing we did was we set up so that our integration test builds a native image, and we run our Rest Assured test. We run the exact same tests against our JVM that we do against this native image. And I can do it on both ARM64 and AMD64. So I can run the exact same test suite with Rest Assured, and I can validate that the native images are working in the same way as my unit tests, my JVM images. So awesome. We're good. I'll figure out the secret stuff online because, again, Pink Emma could be anywhere. I'll figure out the secret stuff offline. And the next time we stream, whenever that is, we'll come back and we'll have our Redis deployed and we'll have a convention for how we deploy those secrets. And I'll share it with you. And we'll get it back into the Spring AI stuff. This is where the Spring AI stuff lives, right? We'll get into that. And maybe Chris and Anand will come back. And then when we get to know our stream, right, this is the part that's going to generate our thumbnails and generate our summaries so that maybe somebody else can find it. And the streams aren't really all that great. There's little bits and pieces, because the other thing I'm going to have this Spring AI do is like best clips. So when we're done with these streams, like every once in a while, there's a little peak where I do something. We're going to have this YouTube analysis. We're going to have to go back to these streams where we're having conversations. Nobody wants to listen to all the side chat and the tangents and all that kind of stuff. But there's going to be some bits and pieces where we're doing really cool stuff. And we're going to have the analysis tool pull those bits out for us and tell us which things that we can make as a clip that we can share for those little nuggets of smart stuff. That's the plan. That's mine. That's what we're going to work on. I'm going to wrap it up for today. And I'm going to say thank you. I got my new camera set up, which I'm super happy about. I'm going to hit this button, and here we are. I wanted to be here. Hi. I had fun. It's a little hectic. We got started a little late, but I had fun. Thank you for coming in. We made some progress. We got a new version out. We got to connect it to our Redis instance so that we can continue going, but we're going to use Redis as our event broker. And now we're going to get back into, I believe our listeners all set. We're going to get back into the Spring AI and the YouTube analysis, because that's the whole point. I'm hoping that if you're streaming Java, you're writing a blog, like, let me know. Sure. All my contact is here, Deshaun.com. You can get a hold of me. And remember, you can always grab my calendar. Oops, I didn't. I got to put it up here. You can always grab my calendar. You want time, you want to spend a minute, you're stuck on something. You don't have to ask here on the stream. You could just grab time on my calendar. So thank you so much for joining. It was fun. I had fun. I'm glad to hear that you had fun. Yes, I'm glad. Luis, hello. We're wrapping up. I'm streaming consistent. Yeah, 8:30 to 10:30 Central on weekdays. Trying to get a head start on 2024. Holidays are coming up, so maybe holidays I won't be here every day. But yeah, I'll try to keep it posted, and I'll always have it kind of scheduled when I'm there, so you can subscribe, and then you can kind of see the notifications. And that's it. Thank you so much. We will hopefully see everybody again soon.